Yeah, there it is. There's the January I know. Here we go.
Lights, camera, action.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another review. Today, we're going to be talking about the newest film, Return to Silent Hill. So, real quick, a little backstory on me and when it comes to the Silent Hill movies, games, all that fun stuff. I actually missed out on the original Silent Hill game. It's one that I've never got to play or never got to experience. And when it came to the second one, I think I owned the first, or I owned the second one and the third one, I think, on PlayStation 2 way back in the day. And while I never really got into them all that much myself, like I was just one of the things where I would just, as a kid, I played games, but it was one of those things to where if I got stuck, I was like, shit, I don't want to deal with this. So I would go on and do something else. So that kind of happened with some of the Silent Hill games. So I really got to experience them a little bit later on when a friend of mine was playing them, and I got to watch him kind of go through some of them for the first time and experience them with him and whatnot. So I know a little bit of the lore and a little bit of the all the theories and stuff that go on behind the games, and much more versed in this world than I am with something like Five Nights at Freddy's, for example. And I am currently playing the Silent Hill 2 remake at the moment, so I'm going through that. I'm maybe, oh man, I don't know how many hours into it, but I'm pretty solid. I'm pretty far into it at this point, and I'm enjoying it. It's a really solid remake. And as for the films go, I actually really loved the 2006 movie that came out. I think it's loosely based on the first game, but they swapped around, the mom and the dad, because they wanted to do something different. And I know that they put Pyramid Head in that movie, even though Pyramid Head really has nothing to do with that story or that movie. But when I first saw that movie, I was in like sixth grade, and I remember I went to the theater to see it, and I really loved that movie. It's one that I really enjoy because as a kid, when I was little, as a kid, stuff like that really fascinated me. And seeing this world of Silent Hill, I was like, this is really interesting and really fascinating. And just, stuff that I found like really grotesque and whatnot. I was like, this is crazy. Some of the visual stuff that they do in this, particularly the dude in the bathroom scene where he comes out with his, head like and feet, or his feet like barbed wired behind his head, crawling out of the bathroom. That was scary shit. Some of that stuff really stays with you. So I really enjoyed that movie for what it was. Like I said, probably me not knowing a lot of the first game and not having any knowledge of the first game probably really helped that for me. But I really enjoy that one. That's a solid movie that I really enjoy. As for the follow up that they did, Silent Hill Revelations, I think they did. I was not a fan of that movie at all. I thought it was dog shit. And granted, I haven't seen it since it came out. I watched it one time. I've been kind of curious to dive back into it, but I doubt really my thoughts will change at all in it. But it's a movie that I just was not a fan of. I didn't care for the story, and I just heard recently that apparently that was based on the third game, which at the time I didn't even know about that. So, but yeah, I said it's one that I might look back into, but I doubt my opinion will change. So when it came to this movie being announced, I was like, okay, cool. They could do something with that world. They could really do with all the technology and all the stuff that they have nowadays. I was like, they could really do a lot of stuff to really bring this world to life and to really kind of flesh a lot of stuff out. Plus, when I found out the same director who did the 2006 movie, Christoph Gans, I think's his name. When I found out he was coming back to do this one, I was like, oh, awesome. I was like, I think what he did visually in the first one was really good, really striking, and I was like, that excites me, so I'm on board for this. And unfortunately, I'm here to say I was not a big fan of this movie at all. I was like, I don't know. As I left the theater, I was kind of like, I'm a little mixed on it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. And essentially, this is the same plot as the Silent Hill 2 game, is that James receives a letter from his wife that she's in Silent Hill, and she needs, he wants her to come there to help her. So that's pretty much it's the same plot line. Now, starting off with some of the things that I did really enjoy about this movie, I think some of the visual elements that they were able to do, I think is really cool, and how it is utilized is really neat. I think some of the little like winks and nods towards the game is pretty cool. while it's not enough of everything, which I'll get into that a little bit later, but I think the little winks and nods about like the stuff of him going through the town and like there's a gate or something's blocked off and he can't go that way, so he has to go, through an alleyway or something like that to get through there. And like when he finds like the flashlight and he carries all that around and the radio and all that good stuff, I think that's just these little cool subtle nods to the video game, to where it's still not enough to where if you've never played the game, you would not know what the hell is going on. So it's just little cool fun nods like that to people that have played the game. And so I did enjoy that. I think our main actor here, Jeremy Irvine, who plays James, he did a really good job in this fact of he has to play like this real grief-stricken, broken character where he's just supposed to be filled with all this grief about what what's going on with his in the game it's his wife. In the movie they changed it to girlfriend, which I'm not a fan of. Again, I'll get into some stuff like that, but his wife, I'm just going to say his wife because of the game. But so he has all this grief from her, and like he just feels so guilty, but he does such a great job of portraying that, like just that guilt, and that you can just see a lot of just pain in his face. Like he's just really in pain and really blames himself for a lot of stuff, and he just does a really good job at portraying that. I also like a lot of the creature designs and the like the effects that they used for those. Some of them are a little CGI heavy, which again I'll get into a little bit later, but for the most part, some of the actual creatures and whatnot, where I read a thing where the director was talking about how they actually used real people, like real dancers and contortionists who could really move their body and really kind of bring those creatures to life and kind of give them this, that feel that they have in the game, to give them that real creep factor. And I think they did really good with that. Some of the they looked really good. Now, unfortunately, that's about all of my positives that I really had for this movie. The rest of them, yeah, let's get into it. For starters, I think the pace of this movie is very poorly. I think it is so slowly paced, and they do this thing where they add in these flashback sequences throughout the movie, to where they try to give you this backstory between, our two characters, the husband and the wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, as in this movie, that almost take you out of the movie, because it's just this weird pacing issue where I just felt like he'll be in the middle of doing something or be looking at something, and he'll just stop whatever he's doing and then just be, transported to these memories, and you're just like, yo, dude, you just saw 3-4 creatures back this way, or pyramid heads right there. How about we, let's reminisce somewhere else. But I feel like that kind of pacing kind of takes you out of, because you're there for the his story. This is a story of his descent into madness. That's what the whole point of this story is. And with having so much distraction from that, and having stuff taken out and put back in, and just be thrown, like it's almost like a whiplash or a knee-jerk reaction, where you're like, I can't stay focused in one world when you keep transporting me out to throw me into something else. Which I know you're trying to set up a backstory there, and I know you're probably trying to set something into place for people that have not played the game, because those flashback sequences or anything like that are not in the video game at all. So I know you're trying to establish something like that, and I feel like there is a way you could have went about that, but the way that is executed in the movie, it just, really halted the pace. And while we're on the subject of pacing, for me personally, I felt like this movie was so slow. I felt like it just drags and drags and drags. And even to the point to where, someone who can't remember a lot of the original game, I remember, like I said, I remember pieces of it, but I'm going through the remake game right now, but it's like, even knowing some of the stuff is going to happen, there is a way to still build tension with that. And I felt no tension whatsoever. Like, I felt nothing throughout this whole movie. I never felt any tension. I never felt for our characters. And like, I was like, this is just I'm not in this at all like I should be. I'm just not emotionally invested. I'm not, there's nothing driving me to really attach onto these characters. And it just, I don't know, the pacing overall was just very, very slow, with no tension. At least for me, there was just no tension. There's just none of that. None of that stuff, like I said, even when you got to the exciting parts with the creatures and all that stuff like that, nothing. Just nothing. There's also a really weird look to this movie. I think even when it started, I can't explain it, but it's like the brightness has been turned up on something like tremendously. It's like super bright, like all these points were supposed to be like kind of dark and whatnot. It's like everything is so bright, almost like a glossed, a really glossy type look to it. And they're in the flashback sequences where it's like broad daylight outside with like you're trying to, with these two characters. It's just so bright. You're like, trying to watch the movie and shit like that. And there's just something really off from the beginning of the movie. I was like, there's just a little bit something off about the way this movie looks. And I don't know why they chose to kind of go in that direction, but they did. There's also parts in this movie that I don't understand that they took stuff out of the game and replaced it with other stuff. It's like their own original stuff, but then whatever they replaced it with led to nothing. It was just okay. It's just in there, and you're like, what was the point of that? Why did you tell me that, or why did you explain that to me? But it went nowhere. So what was the point of that? But then you take out these really pivotal scenes that are in the video game that you're like, why? Like, what is the point of that? I don't understand. If you came to some epic conclusion of like all that original stuff that you put in all tied together nicely in the end, I think it would have been a really cool something to do, because it's like you took the concept of the game and with injected your own original ideas into it, and guess what, it came full circle. Unfortunately, that was not the case in this movie. It's weird too, because it's almost like they have to spoon feed stuff to the audience. Like there's so much depth and lore and stuff and just all kinds of stuff to these games, especially Silent Hill 2, that you can have these conversations with and really really dig deep into it. And this movie kind of spoon feeds people stuff. It's like they look at the audience like you're an idiot, like you're not going to be able to put two and two together. I mean, if you've played the game, obviously you know where the story goes, how things end, what's revealed, and all that stuff. And there's still conversations of the game, of theories that people think what happened, what this really means, and that really means, and all that stuff. But in the movie, even if you haven't played the game or never will play the game, I feel like people could have put that stuff together. I feel like it's pretty obvious. You could have been like, yeah, that represents that, or that's easily part of that, or that's why he sees that, or whatever. And I'm like, they just kind of spoon feed that to you. You're like, yeah, we feel like you're too dumb to get this, so here's your explanation, here's your exposition dump, and you're like, and I mean, they're pretty in your face with it too, where you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're really hounding that home. I understand that. I don't know why they did that. I'm like, dude, you could have a little bit of faith in your audience. Just give me a little bit of faith. And I also don't know why they chose to change so much stuff around as they did. I feel like I said just a second ago, the game is such a solid story, a solid, damn good psychological thriller of a story. And you could easily tell a damn good, gripping story with that. One that really makes people kind of dig deep and have a conversation. And again, just the same way with the game, being like, hey, what did you think this meant? Or what do you think that was? And then you could have had all these conversations with it, but yet they chose to just completely rearrange all this stuff in the game and take, like I said earlier, take stuff out and put their own stuff in, and choose to where that they want certain stuff to go that doesn't go a certain way and all that. And it's just really weird. I would just like to know, kind of like in the writer's room, how they were like, this is our reasoning behind this, but fuck them. Let's not give them any explanation why. Let them figure. That's another thing. I just don't understand. I don't understand why they take out these pivotal scenes that are, or pivotal moments that are in the game and replace them with these own original ideas. And then they leave those original ideas up to the audience to figure out. But I'm like, unless they were trying to go for their own way, like they did the original, where they're like, oh, well, everyone has picked apart the first or the second game. They know all about the lore. They know all about the, what this means and this means. Let's give them something new to chew on. That's a great idea, but you could do that without taking any of that pivotal stuff out. So I don't get it. I don't understand the directions they went in. And it really sucks because, like I said, this is such a deep, really good game, that's such a damn good story that you could really dig deep into this and tell, you could really make a great movie adaptation out of it if you really wanted to. If you really put the work in and dug deep enough, you could really tell a great story. And it's so frustrating because, like, as a gamer, I'm not a huge gamer as I used to be. I used to play a lot. Now I don't really have as much time, so I play here and there. But there are some games out there that have just fantastic stories. Such a great story filled with, great characters, great lore, all that good stuff. And some of the people that never play the games, like, you try to tell them about the game and you try to tell them about the story. And when something like this comes along, you're like, oh, awesome. Now somebody that experiences or plays the video game or never played the video game can now experience that story and have those characters and experience everything we did as the game players. And when stuff like this comes along, you're like, oh, shit. Well, never mind. Like, always think of Uncharted, for example. Like, Uncharted, those would have been just great summer blockbuster movies. And all you had to do was adapt the games. The games have everything you want in them. It's great story, great characters, great adventure. That's all while I don't mind the Tom Holland one that we got, just that's great 4 adaptations right there you could have had easily. That's why I was so happy with especially the first season of The Last of Us, how there's so many friends I've talked to that have never played the game, or like even my mom, for example, who's never played the game, that I always would tell them about what a great game it is and what a fantastic story it is. And I was thrilled when the first season came out, and I was like, dude, they actually nailed the first season. I was like, this is a great adaptation. So I was excited for all those people that never got to play the game or never would experience the game. Now they get this great story with these great collective characters, and they get to experience that for themselves for the first time. That's awesome. And I wish they would figure out a way to kind of find people that would want to do that with more games that really have a passion for the games. I just, for the life of me, cannot figure out why it is so hard to make a video game adaptation. I know that some games are kind of harder to adapt than others because some are not very character driven and stuff like that. But I just feel like there is a way you can go about doing certain things if you have the right creative team and the right writers, and you have somebody in there that is super passionate enough to really want to take on a project like this. But I just feel like this movie overall is lacking a lot of stuff. Like, it's just lacking everything. Like, I feel like they did the bare bones minimum to this story when it could have been so much more. Like, to the point to where I didn't feel like they even did any kind of deep dive into this movie whatsoever, into the lore, they might have known that stuff maybe, but for whatever reason they were just like, no, we're going to do this. Again, it's one of those things I don't understand, where they take iconic moments from games and sometimes will write their own story and just throw in those iconic moments and be like, boom, yeah, we did it. And I'm like, that's not the same. It's just not the same. And I think that's one of the reasons why, again, I found the pacing of the movie so slow, is because, like I said, there's a lot of it that I should be really excited for and really, on the edge of my seat for, like the stuff with the nurses and Pyramid Head and all these cool creatures that come up in there. And I'm just like, when they appear, you're like, they're okay. You're like, yeah, they're there, but they're like, everything going on around them, I'm like, I'm not invested. I don't feel these high stakes. I don't feel anything. And I feel like for our main character, they don't really give him anything to do. They're just like, he shows up to Silent Hill and they're like, okay, you're here now. So I just want you to walk around and look scared for an hour and a half. And he's like, okay, cool. I believe they could do, if they really wanted to do a Silent Hill adaptation, I really believe they should do it in a form of a TV show, because especially with a game that is this, just, woven in lore and all this stuff and all the different meanings and all the stuff that you can do, a TV show would really much fit this. And I think a TV show, like, I was thinking about when I left the movie, like a TV show in the vein of like Twin Peaks or something like that. I was like, you could just think of all the stuff that you could explore if this was done in a TV show format. I'm just scared now that if they ever decide to go that route, either it's not going to be worth a crap, or the people that has been so turned off by these other adaptations are going to be like, I'm not watching that shit. I just think that this whole world of Silent Hill, like, I just think the look of it, the creatures, what it represents, like what's, underneath the surface of it all, I think it's a really awesome world to explore. And visually, I think like I said, they could do so much with it. And it could be so amazing to really dive into it and explore. and to really go in all those directions that the games go. And I think you could do that. And I hope, and I really, really hope, one day we can see an adaptation like that, because I really love this world, and I think it's an insanely creepy world, and you can do so much stuff on the horror side of it. That's another thing about this movie, is that I wasn't scared, and well, like I said, there was no tension, and I didn't feel any scares throughout. And there's just something that they can do there that I hope in future, whatever, if they try to do anything in the future, I kind of hope they go more, or they just take a step back and said, look, this is the games, this is what they represent. Let's really sit back and think of everything we can explore, because it's an endless well. We can do so much with this property, so let's do it correctly. So at the end of the day, I really left really disappointed by this movie. Now, granted, I went in and I didn't really have a lot of expectations for it, because I thought the trailers seemed all right. I was like, okay, they gave us a taste of that world. I was like, okay, good. And then, like I said, when I found out it was the same director, I was like, cool, we're going to dive back into that. And we've been on this pretty good run so far for horror. In January, I was like, awesome, let's keep that momentum up. And sadly, this just wasn't it. This kind of broke that streak. I just kind of hope maybe this was our one big hard dud of January, and I hope going forward, things will pick back up again. I know next week is Sam Raimi's new movie, and I can't wait for that. So I'm hoping that will be a much better experience. So if I'm being honest with all of you, I think if you are a massive, massive fan of these games, you are going to either really be disappointed in this movie or just absolutely hate it. For people that don't know anything about the games, I still think there might be a little bit of confusion in there because of the amount of stuff that they change around and the stuff that they choose to take out and put in their own stuff and whatnot. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I did see something where a person wrote that she took her friend to go see this movie, and she's the one that's really into the games, and her friend is not. So, and even her friend at the end of the movie she said that she had a lot of questions about what went on. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I wouldn't rush out and see it. I would, if you had high expectations for them, I would very much temper them, because I don't know. This one's it's not that great. It's very bare bones, and it just does not dive into the story and to all the lore, and it's not the adaptation that I was really hoping it could be. So if I was you, I would wait till maybe this comes on VOD, or wait till it comes on a streaming service and check it out. But like I said, if you're a diehard fan, I don't think it's going to go over well for you either way. But if you want to check it out, it's one of those movies that if you did throw it on, or if somebody threw it on, you're not going to hate yourself for sitting there for an hour and 40 minutes watching it. But at the same time, you're going to be like, that was okay. That's it. Whatever. It is what it is. But thank you, everybody. That's my review for Return to Silent Hill. If this is the review you're finding me on, please come on over to the channel and check out all my other reviews. I have a whole back catalog of stuff from last year and a couple of reviews of this year. I would really appreciate it if you came over there and checked us out. And if you have seen Return to Silent Hill, please comment below and let me know what you thought about it. Also, let me know what your favorite Silent Hill movie is and your favorite Silent Hill video game is. I'm very curious. I'd love to know. So let's chat about that down below. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so very, very much.